Welcome to the ribbon cutting ceremony for the American University Washington College of Law Tenley campus. We ask everyone to take a moment to silence your cell phones. Please rise as we begin our ceremony. Please remain standing for the national anthem.
Spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Please take your seats. We welcome American University President Neil Kerwin and Dean Claudio Grossman, who are joined by the Honorable Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Mayor Muriel, WCL alumni Skippy Weinstein and Ken Laurie, and Student Bar Association President Amanda Molina, for the official ribbon cutting for the new American University Washington College of Law, Tenley campus. It is now my pleasure to introduce Claudio Grossman, Professor of Law and Dean of American University, Washington College of Law. Dean Grossman is currently the second longest serving dean of a U.S. law school and has been recognized for 4 consecutive years as one of the most influential people in legal education. During his 21 years as dean of WCL, he has further developed the law school's intellectual creativity, pursuing numerous and exciting programmatic initiatives. Under his leadership, the school has seen dramatic improvement in its student-faculty ratio, expanded international, clinic, and LLM and SJD programs, and greatly enhanced the law school's scholarship, teaching, and service. While leading one of the most diverse law schools in the country, Dean Grossman was honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Hispanic National Bar Association just 3 years ago. Prior to serving as dean, he directed our law school's renowned International Legal Studies program, which now has 4,000 alumni around the world. Dean Grossman's lifelong dedication to the protection of human rights and the rule of law permeate the walls of this law school. His service has included 4 terms as chairperson of the United Nations Committee Against Torture and previously president of the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. Over the past 8 years, he has led our community on the creative journey to this outstanding new Tenley campus. Please join me in welcoming Dean Claudio Grossman.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Perhaps Khadija should have add that my students say that when I speak English, their Spanish improves, but that was not part of the official resume, I guess. Well, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Major Muriel Bowser, President Kerwin, Jack Cassell, President of the Board of Trustees, Provost Bass, other distinguished speakers and guests, including members of the diplomatic community, colleagues, friends, students, and alumni here today from around the world. I would like to welcome all of you to this magnificent law school campus, one that will enable us to reach a future that we can hardly imagine today. Our state-of-the-art campus represents the highest standards in legal education facilities. I am sure that you will appreciate the abundant light which permeates our campus and is the conscious result of creative architectural design. This light is both a metaphor and a catalyst for learning, for the encouragement of ideas, and the use of transparency and openness in the pursuit of knowledge and justice. Let us never forget that This campus is to house a community, and that's its purpose, a remarkable community, a community which is very meaningful to all of us and to me. I came to our school in 1982 from the Netherlands as a Fulbright visitor. I was a political refugee from my native country, Chile, at that time living under a military dictatorship. 34 years ago, this community embraced me and gave me tremendous opportunities to contribute. First, as director of its international program, and then its dean for the last 21 years. It means a lot to me that this celebration is taking place in this hall, donated in my name, even if I am a little bit embarrassed by the size of the letters that you see when you come in. Many thanks for your generous gifts. It means a lot to me that Judge Burgenthal, a former dean of this school and the one guilty of hiring me, is here today, as well as the Chilean ambassadors Valdez and Lira, the only names that I will pronounce without an accent probably today, that representing now a democratic country. It means a lot to me personally to see all of you here, my colleagues, our students, our graduates, my friends and my family. Thank you. And look what we have built together. Generations to come will appreciate the sacrifice and vision that went into this campus. The journey to this building began 8 years ago and has been possible thanks to many. First, our alumni, whose contributions to a profession and their affection for and generosity to our institution inspire all of us. They have been a constant source of guidance and counsel, for which we remain deeply grateful. I cannot mention all of you who have made this campus possible, but let me mention that Bobby and Susie Pence brought today a check for $100,000 as their initial contribution for creating a special scholarship fund for first responders. Thank you, Bobby. I also want to remind all of you that at 5:30 p.m. we will be holding the ribbon cutting ceremony for our spectacular Stephen S. Weinstein courtroom. You are all invited, and many thanks to you. Thank you. The journey has also been possible thanks to our faculty, my esteemed colleagues, who even in challenging times for legal education showed tremendous commitment and leadership and understood the importance of moving ahead, setting no limits on ambitions. Thanks to our administrators and staff, who represent the highest level of professionalism and service, and whose signature is all around this building. Thanks to our students who are sitting here, and elsewhere in the building, there are 2,000 persons that are following in the building this ribbon-cutting ceremony. Our students enthusiastically embrace the new campus project and are the source of valuable ideas, such as the growth of our renowned journals, the realization of conferences addressing key issues of our time, the creation of numerous non-governmental organizations, and the expansion of our pro bono work. Our students have shown us that education is a two-way street, teaching us while we also try to teach them. Let me make an important announcement today on this campus of opportunity. We are committing an additional $4 million for the purposes of increasing merit scholarships and financial aid. That's the way to secure opportunity. We are also here thanks to the university's leadership, President Neil Kerwin, has provided unwavering guidance and support throughout the process, making clear that the law school is a vibrant and integral part of the university. Our gratitude also goes to the Board of Trustees and the President of the Board of Trustees, Jack Cassell, and Provost Scott Bass, who accompanied us throughout this journey. I also want to mention the late Don Myers, former Vice President and Treasurer, who sadly passed away in 2014. How pleased would Don be to be here today? We started imagining this campus in 2008 in a restaurant close to this place. Without Don, this project would not have been possible. On this day, allow me also to mention our founding mothers. Our school's journey began in 1896 when Ellen Spencer Massey and Emma Gillet created the women's law class with an enrollment of only 3 students: Delia Sheldon Jackson, Nanette Paul, and Ellen Malcolm. When local schools refused to admit these 3 students, women, our founding mothers incorporated the Washington College of Law, starting a very powerful tradition of opportunity, creativity, perseverance, and commitment. They did not stand idle in the face of gender discrimination. They decided to take action. As Ellen Spencer Massey herself said, quote, "The world belongs to those who go forth and work for it," end quote. How proud they would be to see this new campus, to see that 58% of our students are women, to see 3 women justices on the U.S. Supreme Court, including Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who is our keynote speaker today, and we're going to hear from her. How proud our founding mothers would be to also see the mayor of Washington, D.C., Muriel Bowser, an alum of American University. It is my sincere hope that this new home for the school, with its superb library and classroom and its light, its easily accessible location, and its welcoming and open common places, will further strengthen our wonderful community and help us continue working on behalf of our core values: excellent legal education, the promotion of opportunities, and access to justice for all. Thank you very much. It's my honor now to introduce Dr. Neil Kerwin, President of American University. Dr. Kerwin leads one of the most diverse campuses in the world, with approximately 13,000 students, 1,300 teaching and administrative faculty, and 2,500 staff. Dr. Kerwin has served the university for nearly 4 decades in numerous capacities, including a faculty member, the Dean of the School of Public Affairs, and Provost, as well as an alum. Over many years, I had the honor of working with our president and very much appreciate his leadership, vision, and commitment to our community. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming President Kerwin.
Thank you, Claudio. For American University, the significance of this new home for the Washington College of Law speaks, as Claudio just mentioned, to core values. A project of this magnitude, undertaken in times like these, reflects this university's deep and abiding faith in the mission and work of the Washington College of Law, and great confidence that its remarkable history is simply prologue to an even more distinguished future. This exceptional facility stands on many decades of accomplishment by the faculty, staff, and alumni of the Washington College of Law, who together have left a lasting and highly influential impact, both on the development and the administration of law in the United States and literally throughout the world. The impact is due to widely cited scholarship of great quality, highly effective teaching, both in classroom and clinical settings, and the countless efforts of alumni working as practicing attorneys, judges, and in many other roles throughout society and our economy. Not a week goes by that I, or Provost Bass, and usually both, hear from a very proud dean about the accomplishments of a colleague, of a program, an alumni, or an alumnae. Our confidence in this project is enhanced by the capabilities that this new facility will make available to this tremendous faculty and student body. These new spaces are literally designed to inspire even higher levels of achievement and to communicate to faculty, students, and staff that these surroundings represent the value we place on their work and the centrality of the Washington College of Law to the work of American University. Our confidence is further bolstered by a school of law created by pioneering women, by a school of law whose commitment to diversity has never wavered. Few institutions are as well positioned as our Washington College of Law for the changing demographics of this nation. And it is our Washington College of Law that has demonstrated time after time after time that excellence and diversity are mutually reinforcing values. Our confidence is further strengthened by a faculty and programs that examine the rule of law in all of its variety and complexity. Washington College of Law programs mix rigor with innovation, ensuring students are firmly grounded in the fundamentals while exploring cutting-edge ideas and concepts with a faculty whose work is helping to define the future. We at American University believe the importance of the rule of law cannot be overstated. This new home for the Washington College of Law is a physical manifestation of that belief. I'm going to close by expressing my admiration and my thanks on behalf of the entire American University community to Claudio Grossman. For more than 2 decades, his leadership has projected both the Washington College of Law and American University to the forefront of legal education and to the quest for human rights. Claudio, my friend and my colleague, this new home of the Washington College of Law is due in part to your vision for a school that can at once be at the forefront of developments in the law, still remaining true to the values of its founders. I'll close by thanking everyone here in this room and throughout this building and throughout these facilities for joining us on this most auspicious occasion, marking the launch of the next great era for the Washington College of Law. Thank you.
We always start the introduction saying that it's a privilege and an honor to introduce someone. But in this case, it's a real honor and privilege. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, has been a role model to our students, to our faculty, to everyone who practices. In this school, we follow you with affection. We study your decision on how we learn from you. Now, I feel like not doing justice to Justice Ginsburg by reading her resume. Literally, there is someone who doesn't need an introduction here. As a matter of fact, if you don't know her, you fail your first year classes also. I mean, so, but, and the second and third year, I mean, then, but For the record, because we're taping this and it's being shown all over the world, let me say that prior to her nomination by President Clinton to the U.S. Supreme Court in 1993, the justice was appointed by President Jimmy Carter to the Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit and served the court for 13 years. She received her Bachelor of Arts from Cornell University, attended Harvard Law School, and obtained her LLB from Columbia Law School, where she became the first tenured women professor. As a visionary advocate for justice and equality, Justice Ginsburg was a founder of ACLU's Women's Right in 1972 and soon became the country's leading Supreme Court litigator for gender equality. Her profound dedication to ending gender discrimination earned her the title of the Thurgood Marshall of the women's movement. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Honorable Justice Ginsburg.
Let me move this a little bit. Thank you, thank you. Please be seated. The invitation to participate in this ribbon-cutting ceremony was one I could hardly resist because of this law school's unique history and because Dean Claudio Grossman is among the most savvy, sympathetic, persuasive law school leaders. The founders of what has become American University Washington College of Law, as the dean just told you, Ellen Spencer Mussey and Emma Gillette, joined forces in 1896 to hold law classes for aspiring young women. They did so because the predecessor of George Washington University's law school refused to admit women. Mussey and Gillette, in succession, were the first women in the USA to serve as law school deans. When the Bar Association of the District of Columbia persisted in excluding women, this law school's first deans didn't waste time on anger or self-pity. They became charter members of the Women's Bar Association of D.C., founded in 1917, successful from the start and still thriving. The school Mussey and Gillette founded was not for women only. Its admission policy, unlike GW's in Georgetown, was non-discriminatory from the start. And its leaders took part in efforts to make our union more perfect. Ellen Mussey was a prominent participant in the suffrage movement. She was also drafter and proponent of legislation giving married women control over their own property and earnings, and putting mothers and fathers on a par regarding guardianship of children. Emma Gillette, too, was a participant in the struggle to gain the franchise for women. After the suffrage campaign, she did not rest content. She joined the National Woman's Party and strongly advocated passage of the Equal Rights Amendment as a necessary complement to the 19th Amendment. That perfection is yet to be accomplished. Graduates of American University Washington College of Law should take just pride in the school's origin and even more in what the college has become at this 120th anniversary of its founding. Yet, as committed as you and I may be to excellence in legal education, we must admit that law and lawyers have fared rather badly in many a song and story. In Johann Strauss's Die Fledermaus, a lawyer, Dr. Blind, has a bit part, but his assistance is so ineffective, he manages to get for his client a few extra days in jail. The lawyer in Porgy and Bess ups the price for a divorce from $1 to $1.50 when Bess tells him she was never really married before. The judge in Gilbert and Sullivan's trial by jury succeeds at the bar by marrying a rich attorney's elderly, ugly daughter, then ditches her when the briefs came trooping gaily, and every day his voice was heard at the Sessions or Ancient Bailey. But the legal profession that graduates of this law school will join has among its practitioners legions of women and men who strive to change the perception of lawyers as an avaricious lot. Those legions are lawyers devoted to and at work for the public good. It is lawyers of that kind that American University Washington College of Law seeks to train. Lawyers who will use their talent and education to help repair tears in our society and world. To take just one of many examples, the law school's United States-Israel Human Rights Law Fellowship Program brings together Jews and Arab young lawyers to promote the well-being of all in that region. The program, now named for its creator, Professor Herman Schwartz, recently celebrated its 30th anniversary. The values that guide American University Washington College of Law are equality, diversity, and intellectual rigor, and its world-class faculty is well-equipped to foster those values. The school offers rich and diverse programs in business law, environmental law, trial advocacy, various clinical enterprises, health law, criminal law, intellectual property law, human rights and humanitarian law, and international law, to name some of the areas one can pursue in depth here. And now the school is settled in a campus both spacious and state-of-the-art. I won't describe it in any detail because it is here before your eyes. Its well-designed buildings, fine library, well-equipped courtrooms, attractive dining hall and cafe, beautiful outdoor spaces, great facilities for conferences. Shortly after leaving law teaching, my occupation for 17 years, for a post in the U.S. judiciary that began in 1980, I wrote that legal education is a shared adventure. The sharers include students, teachers, alumni, staff, university and community leaders, judges, also members of the legal profession and public supportive of American University Washington College of Law. All assembled at this gathering have shared in making today's celebration possible and should derive huge satisfaction from the realization of the Tenley campus. May that shared adventure of legal education, launched by Massey and Gillette, continue here for decades to come, and may that adventure flourish in the grand facilities we dedicate this afternoon.
Thank you, Justice Ginsburg. I have now the pleasure of introducing Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser. Since taking the office in January 2015, Mayor Bowser has made significant contributions throughout the district, from expanding the city's summer youth employment program to providing more affordable housing. She has worked tirelessly on addressing the needs of the residents. Prior to her mayoral position, she served as the Ward 4 Council member of the DC Council. Mayor Bowser earned her master's degree in public policy from American University. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mayor Bowser.
Thank you, King. Thank you.
Thank you, thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. Oh, no, please. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. No, please. Thank you. I'm always happy to be back on campus, and I was reminded by this program that it's been 15 years since I graduated. And that time has indeed flown, and it's going to fly for you too. As I was approaching, I saw people lined up on the street coming into the driveway. And then when I came upstairs, there were more people lined up with cameras to come into the building. And I said, what's going on? It's a great building, but what's going on here? And then my staff reminded me that our rock star Justice would be here. So I can't tell you how delighted I am to share the podium with Justice Ginsburg. Let's give her another round of applause. I know that I speak for your council member, Mary Che, who's here, and all of us in DC government in claiming Justice Ginsburg as our own. She indeed was on the DC circuit and has been a longtime resident of Washington, DC. And while I can't ask her to only think about our issues in Washington, D.C. and the cases that come before her, I know she takes our perspective in her exquisite mind on all the issues before her. So thank you, Madam Justice. President Kerwin and Dean Grossman, congratulations on a wonderful accomplishment in making this beautiful investment here in Ward 3 in Washington, D.C. I love hiring young law students. I do. You like to hear that, don't you, Dean? Right, Mary? I learned a lesson from Mary Che. Mary and I sat next to each other for a long time, and our offices were next to each other. There was always a steady stream of law students coming out of her office. And so I said, Mary, you know, what's the deal with this? And she said, they're smart, they're eager, they write well, they speak well, they argue well, and no matter what issue we have in a city, and in a city you have all kinds of issues, you can apply what you are learning to the very pressing issues that are before us. So many of you, while you are learning here in a top-notch law school, you're thinking about what's next in your lives. And so I invite you to think about helping us tackle the big issues that make our city a wonderful city to live in, and indeed our nation and our world wonderful places to not only live ourselves, but think about the generations that come after us. We are committed in Washington, and we have a lot to be proud of. Our city is a prosperous one. And because of that prosperity, we can think about tackling the big challenges of our age. How do we make education more equal for all of our students? How do we end homelessness? How do we tackle income equality and the like? And while you're going through your lessons here with these beautiful classrooms and clinical spaces and MARC courtrooms, I know that you can think about how you too can put your talents towards solving these big issues. Did I say I like hiring young law graduates? Because you can too be part of the solution in Washington, D.C. We're very proud of our town, and we want to continue to invest in it and make it great. And we appreciate, President Kerwin, that our universities are part of the fabric that makes Washington a great place to live. Our universities hire a lot of Washington, D.C. residents from every part of the spectrum. And we want to let you know we appreciate the investment that you've made here at the Tenley campus, and we look forward to being your partner for many, many years to come. God bless you, and congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor. I promise we will build another law school in the next year. It's a great honor to introduce an alum of the law school, Skippy Weinstein, who earned his JD from the Washington College of Law in 1965. He's a remarkable alum. He was admitted at that time by the dean, and he delivered his promise. He promised that he would be a C student, and he was a C student. But he said, that is his words, that he will bring pride to this institution. And if given the opportunity, he would devote himself to pursuing the claims of the injured, their families, the criminal accused, and represents the best of the legal profession. If you have any issue in New Jersey, you have here the lawyer, with apologies to other alums of the law school that are not sitting in front. I would also say that he has been tremendously generous with this institution. Our renowned trial advocacy program carries his name, and at 5:30, we're going to have the ribbon-cutting ceremony of the Stephen S. Weinstein Moot Courtroom. So, Skippy Weinstein, please come. Thank you.
An ego is a terrible thing to waste. This place has so much energy. It is so warm and so dynamic. And it's all because of Claudio Grossman. He fought for this. You see, I've known him for over 20 years. And he has been a very committed individual for the benefit of Washington College of Law. He has many things that are of interest to him. One is his outstanding and wonderful wife, his two magnificent daughters and their families. The other is the United Nations, the Commission on Torture, and Washington College of Law. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about a rumor that I heard. I don't know if it's true, but I'm going to tell you this anyhow. Mr. and Dr. Grossman were taking a weekend off, and they went riding into the country. And they stopped to get gas in Manassas, Virginia. And she gets out of the car, and she starts talking to the person who's pumping gas. And Claudio stays in the car, and finally she comes back, gets in the car, and they drive away. So Claudio turns to Irene, and he says, "What was that all about?" And she said, "Well," she said, "I used to date him." He says, "Really?" And she says, "Yes." And he says, "Well, you know, if you married him, your husband would be pumping gas." And she says, No. If I married him, he would be the dean of Washington College of Law." Claudio and I, for many, many years, would talk, and his focus was on the elevation of Washington College of Law. How he could do that. And this magnificent man would think of things to do. It's like in the Bible, Noah built an ark before it started to rain. Well, that basically was Dean Grossman. What he did is he always envisioned doing things that would be for the betterment of today's students and tomorrow. And one day, after I felt very comfortable with him, we were talking over the phone. I think he was in D.C., if I remember correctly. And I said, "You sound exhausted." And he said, "Well, I just came in from Santiago, and I have to leave tomorrow to go to Holland. And then I come back and I go to Rio de Janeiro." I said, "My God, that's one hell of a schedule." He said, "Yes. And you know something? I was so tired listening to what he was telling me, I took a nap." There's a secret I want to tell you. And the secret is this. When I was a young guy, I was not nice. I was in trouble. And I was brought before the juvenile judge. And he said to me, "Skippy," he said, "I'm going to give you another chance." He said, "But if you mess up," he says, "I'm really not going to have any option." Okay. So about 3 months later, I was an idiot and was brought back before the judge. And he turned to me and he said, "I don't have a choice." So I wound up in reform school. So I was a high school dropout, 15, and now I know I have to spend about 2 years in reform school. And let me tell you, when I got there, that first day, that was scary. And after all the tattoos and things like that, I ultimately left after 2 years. I came back to New Jersey and I started to pump gas and load trucks. And one day a buddy of mine says to me, "You know, Skippy," he said, "you're really bright enough to get a GED." So I thought about it for a little bit. And I studied and took the exam. And I failed. That was devastating. And then I took it again months later, and I passed. So now I have a GED. And yet I'm out of reform school after spending 2 years there. And I now feel very confident about myself. So I apply to a college, and I get into a young college that needs money. Trust me, it was not me. It was they needed money from me. It's Fairleigh Dickinson University, and I have been invited and have served on that board of trustees for 18 years. But I had the most wonderful time. My second year, first day of the new freshman class. Freshmen had to have a plaque signed. And this young woman comes over and said something about, "Are you an upperclassman and can I have my plaque signed?" And I said, "Sure." So I signed her plaque, and I look at her, and I want to tell you something. I fell in love. And we've been married 54 years. And when we sit down at a table for dinner with the family, we have 18 at that table. And she sits at this end, and I sit at this end, and we look at each other, and we just nod our head. In my senior year, I was elected president of the student council. And one of the options was I could assign someone to pick up the speaker who would come in every Friday, bring him to the campus, and then bring him back to the airport. So I decided to do it myself. Well, the speaker was Congressman James Roosevelt, the son of President Roosevelt. And I was very young, very lack of great knowledge. But as we went along, I don't want to say we became good friends, because that wouldn't be true. But he was very good to me. So after about maybe 6 months, it's the end of April, beginning of May, he says to me, you know, Skippy, he said, you look really down. And I said, yeah, I am. And he said, what's the matter? I said, well, I've sent out 12 or 13 applications to law school, and today was my last rejection. And that crushed me, because I wanted to be a lawyer. So he's sitting there, we're driving down, maybe we're 5 minutes away from the airport, and he says to me, can you be in D.C. Tuesday, 9 o'clock? I said, sure. He says, call me Monday. Okay. I had his private number because we would talk. And I call him Monday, and he says to me, I want you to go to Washington College of Law. I want you to meet the Dean of Admission, 9 o'clock Tuesday morning. I said, great. So I tell my fiance, and she said, gee, that's great. So I go to meet the dean. I'm early, of course. And he turns to me and he says, I've already rejected you. Why should I reconsider you now? He says, we're not going to do that. He said, you're here because the congressman called me. That's it. Now, I had to make a decision at that point. I'm not going to tell you what my options were. But I said to him, you know, Dean, I am going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a good lawyer. And whatever law school accepts me, I will make them proud. And sure enough, I then left there, and I also told him, by the way, that I'm never going to get A's. I probably won't get B's. I may get C's, and of course I'm going to get some D's. And it was true to form, let me tell you. So I go back to see the congressman. He says to me, Skippy, what do you think? Not good. He says, call me tomorrow. Okay, so I go back to New Jersey, and my lovely wife says to me, what do you think? I said, I don't think we have a chance in hell. So I call the congressman the next day, and he says to me, all right, this is what's going to happen. They're going to accept you on probation. A little night school, a little day school, but probation. He said the reason they changed their minds was because of the way you said, I'm going to be a lawyer, a good one, and I will make my law school proud. And with that, I went to Washington College of Law. And one final little story. I wasn't going to tell you this, but my wife says to me, you got to tell her, got to tell him. We live in Shirley Duke Apartments in Alexandria. And I'm all excited. I'm going to law school. My first day, and I have my lawyer's shoes on, and I have my suit, and I have a tie. And I get on the bus, and I am thrilled. Haven't made it yet, but I'm on my way. And I get on the bus, and my stomach starts to bother me. I get nauseous. I have a headache. I'm starting to sweat. And I have to get off the bus. And I go to Exxon station, or whatever it was at the time. I did what I had to do. I get back on a bus. And I get to law school, find the class, go upstairs, walk in, and the class is already in session. And the professor says to me, "What's your name?" And I said, "Weinstein." "Sit down." Okay. This was one hell of a way to start law school. Dean Grossman is retiring from being a dean. And I read something recently, and I'd like to read it to you in closing. When Thomas Jefferson presented his credentials as United States Minister to France, the French premier remarked, "I see that you have come to replace Benjamin Franklin. I have come to succeed him," corrected Jefferson. "No one can replace him." And that's the way I feel about Dean Grossman. Thank you.
Please don't try to pull the story about being nauseous to come out late to the classrooms, huh? Please. Now let me introduce Ken Flory, a member of the Myers and Myers Century Societies, in addition to his role as head of the prestigious real estate practice at the law firm of Catton, Munchen and Grossman. Ken has been extremely active in various civic and charitable organizations over the course of his career. In first place, he has been the chairperson of the Dean's Advisory Council of the Washington College of Law for the last 17 years, giving tremendous leadership to the alums of this institution and giving us tremendous advice and support for the development of the school. He's the chairman and president of the Foundation for the National Archives and the chairman of the board of the Johns Hopkins Institute for Policy Studies Advisory Board. He has been active in affordable housing-related activities, including vice chairman of the National Housing Conference and general counsel to the National Housing and Rehabilitation Association. He serves on the Tenley Campus Campaign Steering Committee and the Dean Search Committee. If you need an advice about something, he's the person to ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudio. One of the benefits and burdens of being late in the program is that everyone has said everything you wanted to say. So I may turn some pages and not repeat things. But let me say that it is such a pleasure to be here with you today to celebrate the opening of this absolutely fabulous building. And it's obviously means a whole lot. I'll talk about that as we move along. But American University and the Washington College of Law has meant an awful lot to me. I got a great legal education here when I went here as a law school. I met my wife here. We'd been married 40 years, and she was a student at American University at the time. My son, who is also here, went to the Washington College of Law as well. And so we have quite a few connections. And during the course of that, made a lot of friends, Claudio Grossman being a really special one, and his wife, Irena, and their family. His daughter, at one point, had worked for me as well as a lawyer, and unfortunately, she left to open up her own practice. But there's a great fondness that we have for American University and for the Washington College of Law, and that's the reason, really, that it has been a pleasure for me to spend an awful lot of time, which I do, trying to help work with the dean. I told him for many, many years that he needs to get a new chair of the Dean's Advisory Council, that I shouldn't be consistently the chair, and he said, no, I won't talk about it. So But it's been wonderful, and there are many members of the advisory council that are here today, and I welcome them. And I also am so pleased to be part of a program that includes Justice Ginsburg and Mayor Bowser, and of course President Kerwin, who, without him, this school would not exist. He's been an incredible fan of ours and has done everything he could to make this work. So thank you to him and to Provost Bass, who's also been extremely helpful. The university is a family. We have many members of the Board of Trustee here, and I welcome them and thank them for all of their efforts as well. And the faculty and the students and the alumni that are here, it's all part of our family. And of course, a special thanks to our keynote speaker, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a longtime friend of the Washington College of Law, and she's been a friend in many ways. Just doing her work creates great friendship, but she's also helped us other ways. We had a Myers dinner at the Supreme Court that she hosted for us that was absolutely spectacular. So she's just an incredible person. As Dean Grossman said, she needs no introduction. But I did a little research just to find out a few little things about Justice Ginsburg. I thought you might like to hear a couple of things. There was a study done a couple of years ago about humor on the Supreme Court. So a lot of people may think there's no humor in the Supreme Court, particularly certain decisions that come down. But anyway, so this study was done, which justices are funnier than others, as reflected in the transcripts of the official proceedings of the Supreme Court. It turns out that this study concluded that the amount of laughter that is reflected in the proceedings didn't always reflect the number of laughs that people actually received, and that the transcriber was deleting the laughter in many instances. So they did a study. The study was called "Too Much Frivolity, Not Enough Femininity: A Study of Gender and Humor in the U.S. Supreme Court." It's a big name for a study. So they compared the times and the transcription of the logs, and the study found that Justice Ginsburg should be credited with 6 laugh lines in 2011 and 2012 term, not the 2 she was given. So we recognize that, Justice Ginsburg. Another topic is grumpiness on the Supreme Court. Who would have thought, right? So, and these are the words of Justice Ginsburg herself in remarks to the Second Circuit Judicial Conference in June of 2015. She says, "Overall, the researchers reported a trend has been markedly toward increasing grumpiness, with 4 of my current colleagues ranked among the 5 least friendly justices in the court's history." Who could have guessed, right? To my delight, she says, I am 56 on the list. Personally, although glad to be aligned with the less grouchy, I am skeptical of the results, Justice Ginsburg said. Despite sharp disagreements on matters of interpretation, the current court is as collegial as it could be. And of course, that reflects the great grace of this justice. The last thing before I talk a little bit more about the school is that there was a quote I found from you, Justice Ginsburg, that I loved and a lot of people here will appreciate. And it was, "I do hope that many of my dissents will one day become law." Right, a lot of people can relate to that. So anyway, we're here to celebrate a building, but more importantly, an institution, and that building is obviously a part of it and something that is going to, in my view, continue the trajectory of this institution. There were very few people here in 1896 when the school was started, and if you look at where we are and what we've done and all the changes that have occurred in those years, I think it's something to be proud about. We don't just dedicate a building, we also rededicate ourselves to the principles that guide us. And one of the things I've always loved about the Washington College of Law is that it stands for and has and stands on its principles. And that's amazing, and particularly in this day and age. So I feel pleased to be part of that. So how I feel about the dedication, this is a vibrant, creative, and forward-looking institution. I think the people that are here and have been involved know that. Important core values define this institution: culture, creativity, innovation, a culture of yes, not no, not complaining, finding solutions to problems. Student-centered approach. The focus is on the students providing the education, and this building, I think, will help with that. In the last week or so, I've had the pleasure of being here at the new school, and one of the things that I marveled at were all of the workspaces where you see students sitting across from each other in different places, not crowded, engaging, talking, I think, about legal issues, but the physical is going to make a difference. So there's a focus on global vision and engagement at this law school, a broad vision of scholarship and research. I echo the comments that have been made earlier about the quality of the faculty and of the scholarship that is created here, which is recognized throughout the country, and a broad vision and a commitment to human dignity and justice, more importantly, which you don't find as much as I'd like to. So WCL has been a leader and an innovator from the start. 120 years. They've been a leader in legal education, promoting women in the law. We've heard about that. Founded by 2 women, active in the women's suffragette movement, very active. A leader in promoting diversity, international law, human rights, clinical and legal education, law and government, IP, business, international arbitration, and other things. I was trying to think about what the people in 1896 were studying when they started this law school. So I'm thinking of a con law class, okay? So a lot of the cases that we talk about today, exist. So they're talking about Marbury versus Madison and McCullough versus Maryland and the Dred Scott decision, and actually Plessy versus Ferguson, separate but equal, wasn't even decided for two more years. So it was a shorter class. I think con law had. I think you only got 1 or 2 credits instead of 3. But since that time, the world has changed. The Supreme Court has been an important part of that. The law has been a part of that. Lawyers advocating for their clients and breathing life into the Constitution, which was intended as a living document, have resulted in cases like Brown versus Board of Education, which overturned, in effect, Plessy versus Ferguson. Gideon versus Wainwright, giving people the right to have counsel. Loving versus Virginia, saying that you can't have laws against interracial marriages. Miranda, which I don't need to describe to you. New York Times versus Sullivan. Roe v. Wade, of course. Bush v. Gore, and of course Citizens United that we're all suffering under, in my view. And this school, so that's why you get 3 credits for con law these days, because there's a lot more to talk about. But we've been a part of that process, and I think we've contributed to that process, and in a unique and creative way. So the other thing I'd like to join others and thank Dean Grossman specifically and honor his achievements and accomplishments here at the Washington College of Law. He has been the dean for 21 years. I don't know if you know it, but the average tenure of a dean in the United States is 3 years. That's amazing. That means some people last a year, so the average comes down or whatever. But he is here and recognized as one of the leaders in legal education, and we owe him the most incredible debt of gratitude. if it wasn't for him, I promise you, because I've been working with him for 8 years on this building wouldn't be here. It's true about other people as well. He's been responsible for recruiting the excellent faculty that we have, for creating and working to create legal excellence with international law and the clinics, and his very strongly felt commitment to diversity, multicultural values, and of course, other things that he's done outside of the law school. So the Tenley campus, to me, is a game changer. The state-of-the-art facility to enhance learning opportunities on this 8.5-acre campus. It's like no law school anywhere in the country, probably in the world. It's on a metro stop. Hopefully some of you use the metro. Beautiful, bright classrooms, common areas to promote and enhance collegiality and learning, a place to convene important events, bringing people together and promoting learning and the exchange of ideas. And that is what I predict is going to happen. It happened before at the prior facility, but it's going to happen in a much bigger way here. So what are the challenges for the future? The future is in flux, as it always is. But our ability to adapt to the values that are central to confront the ever-changing realities we face is there. So let's continue this journey together. Join me in committing to the Washington College of Law that it has all of our supports to assure its continued leadership in shaping legal education to benefit all those who are committed to promote fairness, equality, and the rule of law. Thank you very much. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our last speaker, who I've recently gotten to know. Amanda Molina is a third year here at the Washington College of Law, and she has she's a senior staffer for the Journal of Gender, Social Policy and the Law. Strong interest in international and national security matters. She intends, when she graduates, to practice for a while and then maybe run for office. So we need good people to run for office, and maybe Mayor Bowser can help you with some thoughts on that. And last but not least, she is the head of the Student Bar Association here at the Washington College of Law. So welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Not only am I extremely proud to be standing before you all today, but I'm proud to call myself a student of the Washington College of Law and member of the Greater American University community. Within these walls, fortified by grit and mortar, the faces of 1,000 legal minds stand ready and waiting. Within these walls, the heartbeat of our founders, great legal pioneers, and bold leaders, reverberates in every student, professor, staff member, and alumni. And within these walls, I have seen the vision
Hello, hello? Yes.
Okay. I was on my last one. And within these walls, I have seen the vision of Ellen Spencer Moosey and Emma Gillette come to fruition, breaking far beyond the cramped office space on 4701 Louisiana Avenue, where the first women's law class was held on February 1st, 1896. As we move to the next chapter of the Washington College of Law and reinvigorate our pioneer vision, we are redefining our identity. an identity focused on advocating for the utmost degrees of integrity, legal analysis, academic excellence, and leadership within this community and beyond. The Washington College of Law was founded to educate pioneers and world changers. From the beginning, our founders sought to emphasize our values of scholarship, diversity, and educate students who have a passion to change the status quo for the better. Injustice and inequality have feared Washington College of Law graduates from the very beginning. For over a century, historically, many of our students, the ones labeled as unfit for the legal profession simply because of their gender, challenged stereotypes and gendered change, writing litigation that impacted the entire country, leading political movements, and making this world a better place. Courage. Courage flowing freely through our veins is demonstrated by our exceptional ability to say we were the first and we are the front runners. The first to have a female dean in faculty, the first to have a women in the law program, and the front runners for our legal global studies programs. Our reputation abroad is just as strong domestically. In my personal experiences in my global studies program, I have had the incredible opportunity to learn from experts from the United Nations, to dialogue with judges on complex areas of the law, and to learn from one of the most active law school faculties in the entire nation. And even I, a student whose family was once left without a home, stand before you all today because this institution believed in me. My experiences as a student are not an anomaly, but the norm here for all students who attend this great law school. In fact, the norm here is exceptionalism. I am honored, once again, and empowered to say that I am a student of the Washington College of Law, an institution revered by legal entities all over the world. And this may seem like a building. This may just seem like a building, but these walls of brick and mortar symbolize perseverance, rising prestige, and transformative power. The foundation of our past is the cornerstone to our ever-transparent future, where history is still in the making and legends are yet to be told. Thank you.
Dear friends, we have come to an end of our program here. I want to thank all of you for being here and our not speak. Well, there we go. A magical renewal. We have come an end to this historic day. As we're approaching that, I wanted to ask the student volunteers to raise up and be recognized. This event took a lot of planning, and we wouldn't be here had it not been by them. I also want to recognize all the colleagues, administrators that made this possible. It's difficult to mention everyone, but let me mention Khadija Elamin El, who is here. Frankie Fitterer, which is, I'm sure, Walter Labitsky, Jennifer Dabson, and Billy Joe Kaufman, who chaired our space committee and is our librarian, and all of you, those who have come from afar, those who came from the city, and this is an historic event that continues. At 5:30, we have the ribbon cutting ceremony in the Stephen S. Weinstein, the moot court room, and we have tomorrow the President of the World Bank and the Undersecretary General for the United Nations on Legal Affairs. Thank you all, and the best is yet to come for this institution.
Everyone, we ask that you remain seated until Justice Ginsburg leaves the building. We will have 4 campus-wide receptions in about 15 minutes in the atrium at Capitol Hall, the cafeteria in the Yuma building, the International Suite in the Yuma building, and the first floor lobby of the Penn Law Library. Thank you.